Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, welcome to my day of final exam. And here I will explain about one of speaking skills. Before I start my presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Putri Berlian, and I'm from 5th semester of English Education Department, Universitas of Muhammadiyah Bogoraya. And my presentation will be explained about improving students' English speaking skills through portfolio conference, a classroom action research at Polytechnic Madiun. Abstract. The subject of this research are the students of Polytechnic Madiun, especially students in the second semester, which consists of 37 students. They are 35 boys and 2 girls. Portfolio conference had changed the teaching and learning condition. The teaching and learning condition has progressed positively in one meeting to others. Even though the condition of the class changed from not conducive into conducive, inactive into active, not alive into alive, uninteresting became interesting, the progress can also be seen from the improvement of the amount of students who participate through the students' presence, discussion, interaction, and performance in the speaking class. Introduction. English is one of the international languages that is used by many people in the world and in many areas of everyday life. For Indonesian, English is a foreign language. Learning a foreign language is an integrated process that the learner should study the 4 basic skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Listening and reading skills are considered productive skills. Speaking is an interactive process in which an individual alternatively takes the role of speaker and listener. It means that the spoken language or speaking is used to maintain social relationship, and later it is to convey information and ideas. Therefore, the lecture needs to provide learners opportunities for meaningful communication behavior. Problem statement. Based on background of the research, the students' lack of participation in speaking class. It is caused by the lack of speaking skills. It can happen since the student rarely get the chance to use the target language. The result influences their confidence in speaking. The students have a low risk talking, a very significant personal factor to acquire the second language. To solve the problem, the solution is by providing the chance to use the target language. By the solution, hopefully it can improve their speaking skills. First, speaking competence. A. The nature of speaking. The language used in communication based on the channel used. It can be spoken or written. The different choices will reflect in the different skill involved. Speaking and writing involve language production, and so it is called the productive skill. On the other hand, listening and reading involve receiving message. Spoken language is as a dominant way to communicative, as it is said that language is primarily oral. Therefore, speaking is an important skill in learning language. Many language learners regard speaking ability as the measure of knowing language. B. Micro-scale speaking. Definiteness, it is a micro skills of oral communication. 1. Products chunk of language of different lengths. 2. Orally product difference among the English phoneme and allophonic variants. 3. Product English stress pattern words in stressed and unstressed position, rhythmic structure, and international contours. 4. Produce reduced form of word and phrases. 5. Use an adequate number of lexical units or words in order to accomplish pragmatic purpose. 6. Product plan speech at the different rates or delivery. 7. Monitor your own oral production and use various strategies, devices, pauses, filler, self-correction, backtracking to engage the clarification of meaning. 8. Use grammatical word classes, system, word order, pattern, rules, and elliptical form. 9. Produce speech in natural constituents in appropriate phrases, pause group, breath group, and sentence. 10. Express a particular meaning in different grammatical forms. 11. Use choice devices in spoken discourse. 12. Accomplish appropriately communicative function according to situation, participant, and goal. 13. Use appropriate register, implicative, pragmatic, convention, and other linguistic theater in face-to-face conversation. 14. Confluence and connection between event and communicated such relation as main idea, supporting idea, and information given information, generalization, and exemplification. 15. Use facial features, kinesics, body language, and other nonverbal clues along with verbal language to convey meaning. And 16. Develop a battery of speaking strategies such as emphasizing keywords, rephrasing, providing context for interpreting the meaning of words, appealing for help, and accurately assessing how well your interlocutor understands you. In teaching-learning process, the teacher needs to be sure that the students can make various sounds occur in English. The teacher needs to be sure that the student can be understood when they speak. In order that the student speak can be understood by others, they need to use rhythm and stress correctly. The student needs to be able to be familiar with intonation. It is the task of the teacher to train and ensure the student to use appropriate intonation when they speak. The main point is that the teacher needs to be sure that the student can be understood when they want to say. It will be quite difficult to make them pronounce like native speakers. They may not need to have a perfect accent, but it must be understood by others. 1. Grammar. Grammar is essential in English learning as foreign language. It is a must since the student cannot find fixed expression of their everyday life. They can only acquire it of their teacher. They cannot acquire it of the social context, Therefore, they need to understand the rules first in order to make a meaningful expression. 2. Vocabulary. Hammer started that if the language structure is the skeleton of language, then it is vocabulary that provides the vital organs and the flesh. 3. Discourse. Language learners cannot acquire communicative competence when they do not understand how the language is used. Communicative competence does not need only language competence like pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, etc., but also how language used appropriately and how language is organized as a discourse. C. The problem in speaking skills. Mastering the art of speaking is the most important aspect in learning a second or foreign language. The success is measured by the ability to carry out conversation in the target language, but it is not quite easy for the learner since learning English as foreign language cannot be acquired in any places. They can only acquire at certain places such as school, course, or certain place which they can get every time. Therefore, most of the learner can find difficulties to acquire the target language. Most of the error is one the pronunciation, vocabulary, and syntax. It is caused by the difference of the first language compared with the target language. It is the so-called quantitative analysis. C. The problems in speaking skills. Brown describes specifically some cases that make speaking difficult. The cases of difficult are as follows. 1. Clustering. 2. Redundancy. 3. Recorded forms. 4. Performance variable. 5. Colloquial language. 6. Rate of delivery. 7. Stress rhythm and intonation. And 8. Interaction. D. Technique to develop speaking skill. First, use techniques that cover the spectrum of learner needs, from language focus on accuracy to message-based focus on interaction, meaning, and fluency. Fluency and accuracy are both important in communicative language teaching. To provide intrinsically motivating techniques, the teacher is not responsible on the student motivation, but they can provide technique in teaching learning process in which the student's intrinsically motivation will arise. 3. Encourage the use of authentic language in meaningful context. In order to provide the student with meaningful learning, the teacher needs to use authentic language in the meaningful context. 4. Provide appropriate feedback and correction. Since English in Indonesia is a foreign language, therefore the student cannot get feedback outside the class. 5. Capitalize on the natural link between speaking and listening. Speaking and listening is simulation skill because it can occur in the same times. These two skills cannot be separated, although the learning process is focused on speaking skill. 6. Give students opportunities to initiate oral communication. In order to improve the student's speaking skill, of course, the teachers have to provide the student with the opportunities to speak. 7. Encourage the development of speaking strategies. It is very important for the students since the teacher doesn't always accompany the students to acquire the target language. They need to have a strategy to maintain communication. 2. Speaking assessment. A. Authentic assessment. Authentic assessment is one of the principles need to be applied by the language teacher. According to Meli and Praise and Suryanto, authentic assessment is used to describe form of assessment. It is so describe the students' assessment, their motivation, and also their attitude toward classroom activities, which is relevant with the learning process. B. Performance assessment. Performance assessment is in speaking assessment needs not only the knowledge but also the ability to demonstrate it is a skill. Furthermore, Julia below are some examples of performance assessment in language learning classroom. First, oral interview to measure the oral language and asking and answering questions. Second one, retelling the main idea or the story. Third, portfolio. Fourth, discussion or debate. 5. Role play or simulation. 6. Reporting teacher tasks orally or written, and etc. State that speaking is an interactive process in which an individual takes the role speakers and listener. Therefore, it involves comparison and production. She defines some estimation in speaking assessment. 3. Portfolio statement. A. The notion of portfolio and Guidelines, Paulson and Mayer define that portfolio is a purposeful collection of students' work that exhibits the student's effort, progress, and achievement in one or more areas. B. The use of portfolio. Canary and Absurd, furthermore, define some benefit of implementing portfolio in class. The portfolio promotes 1. Students' involvement in assessment. 2. Students' self-reflection. 3. Students' ownership and responsibility of their own learning. 4. Student collaborative and sharing classroom. 5. Student ability to think critically about the schoolwork. And the last one, students' assessment about learning. C. The notion of portfolio conference and the guidelines. The portfolio offers students a way to organize the work from all parts of their school life, as well as important experience outside of school. It allows them to connect both pieces of work and experience into larger context of their learning and to see how each piece and experience impact into the other. D. Portfolio conference as a technique to improve speaking skill. Portfolio conference in this research is developed from the view above, but there are some differences in the application. The main difference are on the goal of the conference. E. The way to carry on portfolio conference. Conference that about usually is focused on progress. The lecturer will only be the facilitator of the conference. It is the reflection of the previous years and the student work during certain time. But the conference research is used for grading purpose for assigning language assessment. It focuses on learning outcome or achievement. D. Research method. The subject of the research are the students of Polytechnic Madiun, especially students of the second semester. They are 37 students, consist of 35 boys and 2 girls. The products undertaken in this CAR use the model developed by Kurt Lewin, consists of 4 competencies: planning, acting, observing, and reflecting. In this research, the writer used 2 techniques of collecting data, namely test and non-test. The test was given to the students by giving the topic material sheets to be implemented in the speaking competence. The non-test was from observation, interview, recording to collect qualitative data. And the last one is conclusion. Based on the result of the research, the researcher concludes that the implementation of portfolio conference in teaching speaking contributes some progress on the student speaking competence. During the implementation of portfolio conference, research problem whether portfolio conference can improve the student skill and condition during the application of portfolio conference. Okay, that is enough from my presentation, and thank you so much for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.